Good evening. I am Glendora Lashley, moderator for this evening's episode of Tobago Matters. If you're viewing this for the first time, Tobago Matters is a virtual series of community meetings aimed at providing accountability and transparency to the population of Tobago and, by extension, Trinidad. This series is to allow the Tobago House of Assembly to report to the population on its plans and initiatives while simultaneously facilitating dialogue with and feedback from the population. This program is live on Tobago Channel 5, TTT, Tobago Channel 5's Facebook page, as well as the Facebook page for the Office of the Chief Secretary. We're also live on radio on Pulse 89.5 FM, Radio Tambourine 92.7 FM, and Street 919 FM. This evening, we will be looking at infrastructure and renewable energy. We're joined by a panel of 4 officers of the THA. We have with us the Secretary with responsibility for settlements, urban renewal, and public utilities, Clarence Jacob. We have the Secretary with responsibility for infrastructure, quarries, and the environment, Kwesi desVignes. We also have the Senior Technical Coordinator in the Division of Infrastructure, Quarries, and the Environment, Abdallah Chadband. And we have the Manager of Energy Resources out of the Division of Education, Innovation, and Energy, Melanie Trim. Good evening, panelists.
Good evening, Glendora.
Good evening, Glendora.
Good evening, Glendora, and of course, good evening to all of our viewers.
All right, so I'm going to ask each panelist to just provide a brief introduction with respect to your various roles within the THA. What are you responsible for? We are going to start with the Settlement Secretary, Secretary Jacob.
Well, let me say good evening again, Glendora, and to all of Tobago, those who are viewing via social media. I want to say a special good evening to those in your community. I want to say a special good evening to the staff at 89.5 and Channel 5. I want to say a special good evening as well. My name is Clarence Jacob. I am the Secretary for Settlements, Urban Renewal and Public Utilities with special responsibility for improving our housing stock in Tobago, improving your living conditions as well. So as you sit back and relax, you'll get the information as we go through this deliberation.
Thank you very much, Secretary. We will go to the Secretary for Infrastructure, Quarries, and the Environment.
Right. Thank you very much, Glendora. And again, a special good evening to all of your viewers. A special good evening to the staff, the members of staff of the Division of Infrastructure, Quarries, and the Environment. Glendora, please allow me an early plug to encourage all persons viewing, listening, to please get vaccinated. It's very important. The Division of Infrastructure has taken up a personal challenge to motivate staff wherever there is vaccine hesitancy, or we are trying to ensure that people get out there and get vaccinated so that we can get back to the business of developing the island of Tobago. And quite simply, Glendora, the Division of Infrastructure, Quarries, and the Environment, that's our core responsibility, the sustainable development of the island of Tobago, our physical development through our infrastructure units, of course, the engineering units, the environment. We are responsibility for the preservation and sustainability of the environment, in terms of policy at least, and of course our quarry, the Sterling Park Enterprise Limited in particular, we have direct responsibility for. So we have a wide range of responsibilities that of course include the unemployment relief program, useful, relevant, and productive, which I look forward to discussing with you a lot more later on in the program. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Staying with DIQE, let's go to the Senior Technical Coordinator.
Thank you, Glendora. I would like to extend a pleasant good night to my fellow Tobagonians and everybody else locked in. I am Abdallah Chadband, the Senior Technical Coordinator for the Division of Infrastructure, Quarries, and the Environment, DIQE. And my role requires me to provide technical steering for some of the major infrastructure arms of the division, which include building, construction and maintenance, road construction and maintenance, drainage infrastructure maintenance and construction, as well as the coastal zone management unit. Tonight we intend to make sure that we put a lot of what we've done on the table so that the people of Tobago are aware of what the DIQE stands for and what we deliver.
Thank you very much. And we go to the lone female on the panel, the Manager of Energy Resources.
Good evening, Tobago. My name is Melanie Trim. I am the Manager of Energy Resources within the Division of Education, Innovation, and Energy. So the energy unit was really established to guide that energy transition. There's a global agenda to reduce the carbon footprint and to attain net zero carbon emissions by 2050, as well as the Paris Accord agreement to which Trinidad and Tobago is a signatory. So we have to increase renewable energy penetration on the island, as well as reduce the greenhouse gases by 15% by 2030. So the core purpose of the energy unit is to guide this process by integrating renewable energy technology on the island of Tobago, paying particular interest to the energy efficiency and energy conservation in light of the to mitigate and adapt to the climate-induced impacts. So we intend to integrate renewable energy on the island and be energy and climate resilient. Definitely, we want to increase the energy security, diversify the energy mix, and of course, engender the thrust towards environmental sustainability.
All right, thank you very much. Sounds exciting. We're going to talk a bit more about that, but first we stop and take a break. You're viewing Tobago Matters. Stay with us.
Suicide has become more prevalent during these stressful times, and we want you to be able to identify the signs to look for within yourself, your family, and your friends. So please pay attention to these warning signs. Talking about dying or wanting to die, talking about feeling empty or hopeless, mentioning strong feelings of guilt and shame, talking about not having a reason to live, social withdrawal and isolation, changes in sleeping patterns, giving away personal items and wrapping up loose ends, and saying goodbye to family and friends. If you or someone you know is at risk of showing suicidal behavior, we advise you to call 999 or Accident and Emergency Department 660-4744, extension 3000.
Thank you for staying with us. You're viewing Tobago Matters. Remember that we're live on Tobago Channel 5. We're live on TTT. We're live on Facebook, on the Facebook pages for Tobago Channel 5, as well as the Facebook page for the Office of the Chief Secretary, THA. We're also live on radio. That's Pulse 89.5 FM, Radio Tambourine 92.7 FM, and of course, Street 919 FM. If you're new to this, there will be the opportunity for you to ask questions of the panel later on, but first we're going to start a discussion so that you get information on what the THA has been doing thus far. You're going to be able to ask questions through a live call-in. We will provide the numbers later on. You can do so as well via WhatsApp and through Facebook. All right, so to jump straight into the discussion, I'd like to start with the Secretary for Settlements. Can you please give us an update on the home improvement program that's under your division?
Well, good night again. Under the Division of Settlements, we have 4 programs. We have the Home Completion Program, which is a $20,000 grant. We have a Home Construction Subsidy, which is a $20,000 grant. We have a Home Improvement Grant, which is a $15,000 grant. And we have the Build Own Land Program, which is a $50,000 grant. In the Division of Settlements, we give these grants in 2 phases. You have the first tranche, but before you get your tranche, you have to come into the division and apply. There's an application form that you have to fill out with the basic requirement, inclusive of estimate, your birth certificate, we have to take some photos, etc. After that is done, the officer or engineering aides go out to your home or to the area and do an evaluation, after which it is approved, passed to the administrator for payment of the first tranche. After you use the monies maybe to purchase material or maybe for labor, whatever you use it for, which should be applied for the purpose. After we come, we observe, we do an evaluation, we see the progress, and then you will be given the second tranche. I am saying tonight that a lot of persons in the East, they are accessing the grant program, and I'm happy to say that we are here to improve the living conditions of persons in Tobago. I was also able to initiate the outhouse program as well, which is a home improvement program for those who have their outhouses, the outside bathroom, local parlance, or your latrine. We upgrade and give you a water closet. That's a modern term, but it's like an inside bathroom and toilet facility. So we are here to improve your living condition. From 2017, to 2020, fiscal 2020, we were able to give approximately $30 million in grants. That is a significant amount of monies expended to the people of Tobago. So sometimes I am there and I am hearing persons say that the division is not doing anything or the THA is not doing anything for the people of Tobago. I am seeing a lot of people access the grant program. It's a social program. So we don't want to go out there and show off and maybe expose persons with regards to their living condition. But the vision of the division and the mission is to improve your living condition and also to improve the housing stock.
As you talk about improvement, Secretary, with respect to the land subsidy program, you all have a land subsidy program with the private sector. Can you speak about that?
Yeah, we have a HDIP program as well. We are not able within the THA, well, in the division at this point in time with regards to the financial situation in the country. So we invited local investors, those who have maybe 10, 15 acres of land. They came into our division and they show interest. They bring in their application forms and they do a proposal to us. So that will facilitate that backlog that we have. Persons will be able to develop their own lands, and we in the THA will put a 25% subsidy. The land must be 500,000 and less, but I'm a good negotiator, so I would want to negotiate a little downward based on the amount of lands, because I want it to be at least, in a way where persons could be able to purchase. It must not be exorbitant where persons are unable to purchase. So I was watching, maybe if you have your lands at maybe 400 or 375, if you do a 25% subsidy from a 400,000, it will come to 300,000 that the client would have to pay. Okay. So it would be, reasonable for an average person to purchase lands. Once you are not in the rotation of our distribution process, you have another option. So we are facilitating the population, because a man wants to leave his mother and father. And when you cleave to your wife, you want your own home. So I am encouraging persons, apart from the division of settlements with our program that we have, we also initiated local contractors to be a part of the housing development.
All right. Thank you very much for that. So I want to go to your colleague, the Secretary for Infrastructure now, and I want to ask Secretary desVignes, first of all, before we get into all that your division has been doing, I'm sure recently you would have seen that your division has been trending. So I'm going to ask you right off the bat to clarify some of the information that is out there in the public domain. So recently there has been talk about a transfer of funds from the health division to your division for road resurfacing. All right, and people are complaining that why are we doing road resurfacing when it can be used for health grants, rental assistance, etc. I know that the Finance Secretary tried to provide some information on this, but I'm asking you to address this publicly tonight on Tobago Matters. Thank you.
Well, good evening again, Glendora. I like how you get straight to the meat of the matter, actually. I guess I expect no less of you. I want to put it in quick context, if I may, Glendora. The Tobago House of Assembly for fiscal 2020-2021 was allocated just under $2 billion, I think $1.903 billion, I think, for recurrent expenditure, and $200 million for development expenditure. That's development funding, capex as we call it, capital expenditure. And this is down from just over $2 billion in the previous fiscal year for recurrent, and just over 230 million for development funding. What the Tobago House of Assembly, or the Executive Council, I should say, has had to do over time, obviously, is in order to promote or push the development of Tobago through the development funding, we've always had to reallocate. To this end, all divisions look at their recurrent expenditure in the first instance, and it's an agreement across the board to say, listen, we have to cut because we have to fund whatever it is. We were only allocated $18 million, for example, for URP, yet we paid, the program cost us about $38 million last fiscal. So it means that the funds have to come from somewhere. So basically, we look at the funding as one pool in the assembly, and we say, you know what, we will hold back, we will cut and contrive on the recurrent, and we will try to then find ways to fund the development program. In the division of infrastructure alone, in this current fiscal, we've had to cut over $30 million from our recurrent expenditure. What I can say very categorically is that the funding is then distributed according to the priorities of the Tobago House of Assembly, be it the development of agricultural access roads for farmers, the construction of the Roxborough Health Center and Hospital, or even the Roxborough Administrative Complex. So it means then that, again, we cut and contrive in recurrent, and we move that funds towards the development fund to ensure that we could fund capital development. The division, as I said, cut over $30 million. And once it's cut, it becomes an exercise of the technocrats. So all secretaries in all divisions know that we have a cut. We may have agreed to whether it's 8%, 8.5%, or 9%. The last cut, as a matter of fact, was a harsh 9%. And it meant that within the division, we had to look at where we wanted to cut. And then that information is handed to the Division of Finance and the budget unit. And from there, they are able, because they ultimately control the release of funds for the Tobago House of Assembly. So to say that we took money from health for road paving is not an accurate thing to say. As a matter of fact, I believe the Finance Secretary spoke about the cleanup exercise from the last fiscal year. So what you are seeing really and truly is each division deciding whether they should give up in one particular area in order to fund capital development in another area. To go a little further, the Tobago House of Assembly and the Chief Secretary said it previously, has spent over $100 million in COVID relief over the last year. And I think that has spread across to hoteliers, small businesses, food relief, and the list goes on and on, rental assistance and so on. So I think we have been doing more than our fair share. I think even more can be done to provide assistance, and I look forward to providing that. I know that the Secretary of Health, when she comes on, she would speak to that. But we have been providing COVID relief in many instances. But again, all across the Assembly, each and every division, I will except probably for the Division of Settlements, has to cut from their recurrent expenditure in order to fund capital development. And paving of roads is just one of those many capital development projects.
All right, so thank you for that. And the Health Secretary was, in fact, on already speaking to the COVID-19 relief. Now, let's switch. You're talking about the cut and so on, and your division arguably is one of the bigger divisions, if not the biggest. So tell us about some of the accomplishments under the division. Of course, you're not going to list out 35,000 things for us tonight, so sum it up very nicely, most recently, the things that perhaps people don't yet know about.
And thank you for that question. I'm happy that Mr. Chadband is here as well, because very often there tends to be some skepticism when politicians speak about accomplishments, and there's a greater belief for technocrats. So I know Mr. Chadband will back me up in many cases, but I just want to put again some context, Glendora. The Division of Infrastructure, as you said, is one of the largest divisions. We are responsible for over 6,000 employees in Tobago. And it means then that we see our responsibility for development, not only physical development, but the development of these employees. We have continued to provide significant relief. We have completed the designs, I should say, and we're ready to turn the sod on the Turpin Bend realignment project. We have also are finalizing, with the assistance of the Ministry of Finance, CAF financing that will go towards the reconstruction of the Little Tobago jetty, along with coastal rehabilitation works at Grange Bay and Pigeon Point, Milford Bay and Pigeon Point. So those are key things that are in the pipeline. Everyone is fully aware of the rebranded, or the completion, I should say, of the Thompson River bridges and Lambo River bridges, which have come again at reduced cost. Glendora, I want to say, and again, it's testament to the type of technocrats, the employees at the division. We've been able to save the Tobago House of Assembly close to $50 million in major projects. And this goes from the rehabilitation of a portion of the Claude Noel Highway. It was estimated at $42 million, and we were able to bring it in well below $40 million. Even the Thompson River Bridge, we were able to bring it in with cost savings. The Roxwell Administrative Complex, which we were responsible for constructing, again, a cost savings at delivery of about $8 million. And so the list goes on along those lines as to how we've been able to realize savings through improved project management practices. And again, I must say some kudos to Mr. Chadband. Even in URP, I'm looking at a list of over 180 completed projects in the newly rebranded useful, relevant, and productive URP.
Okay.
At any given time, Glendora, we have at least 40 ongoing projects in the division and 80 programs, whether it's maintenance programs or so on, in the division. So the division is constantly in a mode of project management and delivery, project and program management and delivery.
All right, thank you for that, Secretary desVignes. I want to perhaps bring in your senior technical coordinator now, and I want to ask you about the funding, because I know this is expensive and that's what the Secretary is supposed to talk to us about. But senior technical coordinator, there's several parts of Tobago right now where there has been serious sinkage occurring, right? And sinkage, not the slipping, the sinkage. We've had Bloody Bay, Lansome, Runnymede in Mariah. You know, the Bloody Bay one shocked me, I'll tell you that. So I'm going to ask you to maybe talk to us about what exactly is causing this, if you guys know, or what can be done to find out what exactly is going on here in Tobago.
Thanks for your question, Glendora. We are aware of the areas you've mentioned, and I would also like to add the Smithfield Road as well. We're seeing the same scenario taking place there. From our investigations, most of the times these things, and worldwide too, is land subsidence, where you will have differential settlement of soil strata below your roads. Most of these things are actually related to liquefaction of soil. Poor drainage, subsurface drainage, and I would like to use this as a teaching moment as well for some of our contractors and maybe people are doing stuff at home. There's a reason why you have a quarry selling certain qualities of materials. You would want to use rotten rock, etc., because you want to use things with the proper degradation and not just pull back your foundations or your roadways with soil that contains organic material. Because when water hits that, you have biodegradation, and that triggers differential settlement. So to answer your question directly, Glendora, we are aware of it. We are in the process of getting some geotechnical studies for all the areas you've mentioned, and it's predominantly differential settlement triggered by, in our opinion, water. Again, I don't want to put another agency on spot, but our friends in blue have some mains that are leaking as well, and we've had some challenges with that, but for instance, in King Peter's Bay, we've done the restoration work, And we continue to apply the science as best we could and make sure that we give Tobago the best solutions we can.
So I want to ask you a bit more questions here, and I'm asking you for clarity because you're using some terms. Differential, what you call it?
Differential settlement.
Differential settlement. Explain to us what exactly does that mean to the average Tobagonian?
All right. It simply would mean that when you have, let's say, I hope everybody can see this. Let's see this. You have this particular layer here, which is stable, and you have this one below here that is susceptible. When water hits this, it starts to be liquefied, it begins to move, and then it drops. So picture a building on top of both of these levels, and then then one of these here starts to fail. It's typically, that would be though simplified, I think that would be the visual you want to give the public when you talk about differential settlement.
All right, so the next thing I want to ask you about is the geotechnical survey. What exactly does that do? Explain that to us.
Right. It's a specialized field in engineering, and what it does, it allows us to be able to get certain design parameters, data to be able to do design things like Atterberg limit, California bearing ratios, deal with water table and stuff. So you bring in the person, and I guess the average person would have heard the term boreholes. A geotech engineer would come, drill some boreholes, take soil samples, go to the lab, perform tests to establish the parameters you need to be able to come up with solutions for subsidence, differential settlement, and the like. I can say to the island that we actually have some tenders that are going to go out more than likely in 2 weeks. I've seen the draft. We're just making some adjustments. I want to make sure that when it goes out, it's tight and that there's nothing that would lead to any variations and any cost jumps. But I have received the draft from my staff. It has been reviewed by procurement or our procurement officers, and we hope to post it on the website soon so we can get these geotechnical studies done and implement these solutions as quickly as we could.
No, I promise I wasn't going to ask you about cost, but you're literally begging for it there. So I'm not going to ask you whether or not you could allocate the money because that's what your secretary is for. But generally, this thing is extremely expensive. So do you have an estimate as to, for the average Tobagonian and Trinidadian listening here this evening, when we think about that, what sort of cost are we thinking about, ballpark figures?
All right. The studies themselves. Let's say for Smithfield, without prejudicing the tender, I don't want to give the potential bidders any ideas so that they could, we lose that competitive edge where they know already what we want to afford. But you're looking at mid to low six figures. For instance, the land for me, Charlottesville Road, though, that is a very, very large one. We anticipate that one would probably hit 7 figures. But those are the type of things we're looking at. Usually it's between low to mid figures for geotech. But for a big one like that land for me, Charlottesville Link Road, that one probably would be 7 digits. And that is just the studies. Implementation of a solution, well, my best bet is that for Smithfield, we probably will get maybe 7 digits as well. Mid 7 digits, but the lands for me, Charlottesville, we'll have to do in phases. That one is going to be fairly large. We probably would hit the 9-digit range.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. I needed to ask you that, because the average Tobagonian, if we're going to build, or even if we go to Secretary Jacob and ask for some land, it is advisable now to do a topographical survey, and that thing costs it costs a lot of money. So I think it's important for the average Tobagonian to understand. I want to bring in Melanie, the lone female on the panel. We're saving the best for last, let's put it like that. You have a tall responsibility. Energy has always been a portfolio in the THA, but now it's coming more to the fore. I know that under this particular Chief Secretary, Ansel Dennis, he has said openly that his focus is on renewable energy, and your portfolio is also on renewable energy. So I'm asking you tonight to explain to Tobagonians and Trinidadians, what does this mean for the island of Tobago?
Okay, so simply put, it means that there would be an increase in renewable penetration on the island. But before I touch on the renewable energy penetration, I would like to talk a bit about energy efficiency and energy conservation, because that is extremely important in terms of cost. Cost is a great factor. So the more you consume, if your energy consumption is extremely high, then your capital cost will be very high for if you want a solar system or a wind system, a microgrid wind system. So it is very important that we treat with energy efficiency and energy conservation. And if viewers may be wondering what sort of mechanisms can we employ to be energy efficient or conserve energy, we simply outfitting buildings with motion sensors. For example, we have the THA buildings. Sometimes we see it on during the night. But if we were to outfit it with motion sensors, then when there's nobody there, the lights can be off, and that is saving energy. Of course, we'll have the security lights on or the perimeter lights on for security. But overall, we can definitely utilize motion sensors. And this can be done in hotels and schools as well, right, across the board. Another thing would be turning off appliances and lights when they're not in use, and switching off moving from your incandescent lighting or CFL bulbs, those yellow barrel bulbs, to LED bulbs, because those are action bulbs. You have a lower wattage on the bulbs. All right. I think would be to install smart plugs. There is now, that you can remotely take off appliances if you forget to take off an air conditioner if you forget it. So that's very important. As well as in terms of air condition, because heating and cooling accounts for about 40% of our energy consumption.
So, Melanie,
so if we can, retake meters.
All
right.
Sorry, I had to interrupt you there. Your internet connection may be causing us some trouble, so you've been in and out a bit. I'm going to ask you to just try again to see maybe in a shorter bite if you can get that message in. Particularly after you gave us the example about the conservation.
All right, yes. So I was just expanding on the energy conservation and energy efficiency mechanisms that you can, all right, before you start talking about integrating solar technology on your homes, for example. All right, another thing would be to put your hot water system on solar water heaters. Those last quite a long time, 15 to 20 years. You would not get an electricity bill. However, you will have to pay a capital cost. So that is the only disadvantage, but it pays out. All right, so now that we have spoken about energy efficiency, energy conservation, we want to speak more about renewable energy and its integration into the Tobago space. So on a small scale, of course, we'll be looking at homes, deployment on homes as well as schools. Currently, we are looking at doing a project that's already in the pipeline to outfit one of the schools, Charlottesville Methodist Primary School, with solar panels, and that is to run the critical loads of the school. One of the reasons why we chose Charlottesville Methodist Primary is that they experience low voltage issues as well as frequent power outs in school functioning. In light of the limitations of the electricity, we have decided to choose that school. And we would not be staying there alone. We would be doing a diversion penetration as well. So this is a pilot project to acquire data, to reduce uncertainties, to gather lessons learned, so that we can now extrapolate that to other schools, right? As well as looking at health centers. So the entire agenda is really to slowly penetrate the island with solar panels, solar for power generation. We will be taking a look at a wind resource assessment plan that is being spearheaded by the Ministry of Energy and Energy Industries, as well as the Ministry of Public Utilities. Of course, Tobagonians and the Tobago stakeholders, we will be involved in that, as the wind resource assessment plan will also be conducted in Tobago. All right, so one of the main agendas, I know the Chief Secretary loves agriculture and he cares a lot about farmers. One of the major things that we're looking at right now is to put an entire livestock farm on green energy, see how sustainable practices can be integrated into our farming system. For me, I have with the farming. However, I'm able to have a discussion with farmers who were very accommodating and helped me understand what happens in the life sphere. I would be able to translate that into the renewable energy design. Very important that we conduct energy audits and then size a system. We did that at the energy unit. All right, so what we will be seeing soon will be farmhouses being equipped with critical loads as well, solar water heaters to run their heating and cooling needs. And a discussion had been had, with the potential of doing a biogenerator for biogas on that farm. So we're just looking at tapping into all the possibilities that there are on the island right now for renewable energy. I would not forget to remember though that the solar itself is variable. So therefore you would need a bonus or supplemental aid for that, and that would be the wind energy. So it is very possible when solar is off at night, you get wind in the night. So then you have the balance of systems. That way you can reduce your storage capacity, because storage is one of the most expensive components of a renewable energy system. Now, I have to mention on the larger scale. On the larger scale, we have a 95 megawatt installed capacity on the island of Tobago. And that will service our demand needs for the next, say, 10 to 15 years, let's say the short to medium term. So it's very important that we plan for the long term. In order to build resilience, we need to plan for the long term. All right, so any expansion of the national grid with respect to Tobago will be with renewable energy technology. And also, it must be noted as well that at this time, for cost savings, at this time we pay $1.25. The cost between NGC and TNTech is about $1.25 per million scoffs of gas. But that same gas, if we reduce our consumption, it means that we're reducing our demand for the natural gas on the grid. And that gas can then be deviated to the petrochemical sector, right? Where they can pay us $3 to $4 for that amount. So, you have a lot of savings personally as well as nationally. And we definitely will want that fiscal space in light of the pandemic. So that is very, very important. So to cut a long story short, it's really just to see the increase in renewable penetration on the island of Tobago.
All right, thank you for that. But I got to ask you a question before I go to the Secretary for Public Utilities, because he's also co-responsible for this, and I want to find out how those light bulbs, how that's been happening. Before we go to the Secretary, can you tell us previously, I don't know if this is well before you took up this particular portfolio, there was the solar panel installation at the Signal Hill Secondary School in conjunction with several corporate sponsors and so on. I know you've identified Charlottesville Methodist Primary. Is there any comparison between what has happened at Signal Hill with respect to charting the way forward with those installations in the primary schools that you identified?
Absolutely. So the installation at Signal Hill secondary school, to which Secretary desVignes can attest to, was to power the library.
Yes.
Right? Now, the one at the Charlottesville Methodist School will be to power the critical loads. So, for example, the entire school can run effectively without, if there is no power. So what we will do from the Signal Hill School will be to extract the lessons learned as well and incorporate it into the design at the Charlottesville Methodist School, so the similar mistakes will not be made. Because there were 1 or 2 lessons learned that I know the solar developers would have learned, and we will definitely be integrating that into our system. And as well as the other areas in Tobago will also be outfitted with renewable energy as well for power generation.
All right, thank you very much for that. And I want to go again to the Secretary for Public Utilities. We're talking about penetrating with respect to conservation. TNTech called out a whole lot of people. We had several Tobagoans all over TNTech in town trying to collect light bulbs. Give us an indication as to how that particular project, if you've gotten a report, an update, how has that been going with respect to the uptake? Have people said that they've seen, any benefits so far? And of course, policy-wise, what's in train?
Well, in a discussion with Tiantec, the general manager in Tobago, they had the initiative whereby they wanted to engage these LED bulbs as a cost saving to the, to the wastage of the light bill. We want to reduce our light bill. But I had the opportunity as well to go to Canada to have a first-hand view with regards to the different bulbs. Also, we want to do smart homes whereby you'll have sensors when you walk into the house. Maybe a room will be lit. When you leave the room, maybe for 5 minutes, then the lights will come off. You'll also have these sensor for the pipes or the taps. You have that like where you have in the airport, etc. So it's a matter of course saving. But I did not get back an update from the general public. But I think from being in Canada with regards to the information gathered, once you are using these LED bulbs, it will naturally reduce your usage as well. But you have to take into consideration that you will not just leave on your lights, believing that these are LED bulbs and you would not receive a bill, So the way forward with housing as well, we want to initiate smart homes. Smart homes, you have motion sensors, you have and I want to make an example as well. A cost saving is regarding your sealing of your house as well. Burning that current with your AC. If your house is not properly sealed, you will have an increase on your light bill as well. But regards direct to the lighting itself, LEDs, we had the opportunity to be in the presence of the Honorable Shamfa Kojo, Ayana Webster-Roy, and the Minister, Mr. Gonzalez. Yesterday, we were able to go at Pick a Trace in Kambi and initiate 8 lamps. As well, we had 2 lamps in the Friendship area, and we had a visit at Google Patch, that area up in the hills there, going to Lekito, where they will be doing installation of the LED lights as well. So the LED lights, I'm telling you, it's the way forward. The technology is there, the information is there. And Tiantec took the initiative to start distributing those bulbs after you pay your bill. So there's a transition taking place, and that's the way forward with regards to lighting.
Let me ask you this, and maybe perhaps put you on the spot here. As the politician responsible for policy in your division, and you spoke about wanting to really provide a proper housing stock. You took up office. I don't think, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think you were actually able to build any new homes. You came in and you met an existing situation, and of course, it is what it is economically, so there were no homes. With respect to plans, future plans, if you all have this in train, or if you can't speak to that because we're in a political situation now, but if there are any plans that already started with respect to what the future housing initiatives are, have you considered just what you said there, making them smart homes, right? In other islands, we're seeing the solar-powered homes and so on. Have you considered that can be a possible THA policy decision? Have you all spoken about that? Have you looked at the cost for it? Just with all of the little faucets and so on that you spoke about, is that something that your division has considered so far?
Definitely, Glendora. I am a person, I always think outside the box. And I want to see improvement. You're improving people's living condition. You're improving, you can't get the basic houses as well. You need to improve, you need modern houses. And those technologies are not expensive. They are fancy, but they are not expensive. If you check Barbados as well, Barbados, they have for years these solar water heaters, which will reduce your cost on your bill. And we want to initiate that as well. The only thing, it will be dovetail into the cost of your house, but there's a subsidy as well. But if you are thinking going green, and we are thinking about energy efficiency and that kind of thing, we have to take the way forward. I had discussions previously with my technical team with regards to smart homes. Smart homes with those motion sensors and the sensor taps as well. And that is, I think that is something basic. It looks fancy, but it's something basic. And we should start encouraging persons to go that way. I would also, for these new homes that will be built in the near future, with regards to our new home initiatives or new development, I would make sure the homes are equipped with those maybe solar panels for water heaters, etc. Okay. It's a great initiative, and I think that we should start to go in that direction, because we are a country of oil and gas, but we have to start a plan for reduction as well.
Thank you very much for that, Secretary Jacob. And of course, the THA current administration, their policy at this point is renewable energy, so we'll see how that goes. But I want to go now to the Secretary for Infrastructure. Earlier, you took a little stab at your colleague here with his minute budget in the THA. The budget is so small, I suppose he doesn't have anything to share. But let me ask you this. Your colleague, Secretary Jacob, spoke about the public-private partnerships of his division. What's happening in your division with respect to PPPs?
The Assembly on a whole, Glendora, does have a policy of looking at the public-private partnership as one of the modalities to deliver major projects. The Division of Finance and the Economy, as you may be aware, does have a unit, a PPP unit, with staff who have been trained quite a lot. As a matter of fact, even staff from the Division of Infrastructure have benefited from extensive training in public-private partnership. One of the key projects we have been looking at delivering using this modality has been a marina for the island of Tobago. The challenge with putting forward a really sustainable and sturdy case for public-private partnership, however, is that it takes a number of years. I remember visiting Costa Rica. They have the largest hydroelectric plant. It's a dam in Costa Rica. It's the largest in Central America. And that took over 8 years to develop using the PPP model. So we are looking at this particular model. However, in the interim, alternative financing on a whole is something that we are attacking. That's why we went very hard at the opportunity for CAF financing, the Andean Bank. They were extremely impressed with our technical presentations, and as such, were very willing to partner with us on the development of the blue economy. And so that's why we look forward to the execution of that particular loan. And outside of the loan, the funding, they are lending technical assistance. As a matter of fact, even the Inter-American Development Bank, the IDB, they have begun technical assistance for us to develop a blue economy roadmap for Tobago. So we are not just utilizing the in-house resources of the Assembly or the Division of Infrastructure, but we are going out, utilizing the multilateral agencies. We are leveraging the partnerships that we have with the central government. The Ministry of Planning has been extremely helpful. We've been working very closely with the Ministry of Finance and some of the technocrats there, and they have been guiding us along. So public-private partnership is one of the alternative financing models, but we have found other ways to really attack or really get the results that we're looking for, which is really and truly the sustainable development of the island.
All right, so let me ask you a semi-weird question here. There are several people with their properties blocking the streets, blocking the roads. Many people put up, walls and so on. And you forgive me, I just thought about this, so I got to ask you while I have you here. They put up walls, and when you come down a secondary road, basically you can't see where you're going. Do you need to get additional funding to send out people to just break down those walls? What is the position with some of those walls?
So, and again, I guess I can make a plug here, Glendora, for the autonomy bill. We need these bills to be passed. The reality is, at present, the Tobago House of Assembly is hamstrung very often in how we can go about dealing with these particular issues. There's one particular issue in Eastern Tobago where we engage town and country planning. And this was because I had insisted that we engage town and country planning. When the staff did look and when they did engage town and country planning, there was in fact a case and an infraction. But then town and country planning turned back to the division and said, well, you all need to now execute. So there are clearly some blurred lines, and the systems need to be finalized. The framework needs to be strengthened. And the way to do that is through a proper legislative framework. So we have to have the ability to pass laws. Glendora, even outside of that, there are people building on river banks and then coming to the assembly to say, well, you know, my house is under threat. These things are real challenges that we have. Neighbors in Tobago are building, say it's on a hillside. I build my house above the neighbor, and I don't put guttering on my home. So all of the runoff is affecting my neighbor's home below me. And again, very little we can do legislatively at present to deal with these things. So we need stronger legislation to deal with these issues. And I look forward to the day that Tobago can pass those laws, those Tobago-specific laws, dealing with planning, town and country planning, so that we can deal with some of these vexing issues.
Okay, have you tried the good old, I suppose, public education in the interest of not having the legal ability right now? Has the division really gone out and explained to people, I mean, there are the people who, you know, breaking the rules, but we're talking about the people who genuinely, they do not know.
And you're right. And as a matter of fact, Glendora, the public can expect to see some public education, things like guttering, building technology. Mr. Chadband, whenever we go on site visits, almost every single time in different places all around Tobago, he can point out construction flaws that can lead to homes failing if there were earthquakes of a particular magnitude. So it's a major challenge in Tobago. The division did have different symposiums in the past, concrete technology, roofing technology, asphalt technology, and we continue to build capacity in that way in partnership with the Contractors Association of Trinidad and Tobago. So you're right, Glendora, public education is extremely important, but you know how it is, we can lead the horse to water. I'm not sure that we can always make the horse drink, and that's where the legislation is going to come in. But as I said, we can look forward to some more public education. We have been rolling out a number of videos from our communications unit. I must say a special good evening to our communications manager at this point in time. A small unit doing a lot of work, and there's a lot to be done to educate Tobagonians at this point in time.
All right, thank you very much, Secretary. And I want to go straight to your Senior Technical Coordinator. We spoke earlier about land sinkage. I want to talk a little bit about land slips, landslides as we know them. That's a major problem for us, especially when the rainy season comes around. Can you speak to, perhaps, we're doing some education tonight, what may cause that? And more importantly, what measures can be put in place? And what is the division doing?
Thank you, Glendora. And I'm glad you gave me the opportunity. I'll start by first reiterating what the Secretary said. It's a major concern of ours about the lack of things, like simple things like guttering that could save what tends to be a Tobagonian's biggest investment is home and is property. And we're actually seeing some return of...
Senior Technical Coordinator, I'm very sorry I have to stop you, but I am advised that we must stop and take a break now. Stay with us, you're viewing Tobago Matters. We'll be right back.
COVID-19 has impacted us socially, economically, and of course in terms of the health. It has affected us locally and globally, if only because it was declared a pandemic and it affects our everyday, day-to-day lives. Vaccinating the population to achieve what we consider herd immunity allows us to be able to return to normalcy, some form of normalcy, something that we were accustomed doing from before. So the more persons you have vaccinated is the less persons that will develop complications, the less persons that will be hospitalized, and of course the less persons that will die. So you're seeing in countries such as the US, the UK, Turkey, Israel, and these countries, you're seeing in a number of these countries that a lot of their population have in fact been vaccinated. These places have vaccinated a number of their persons, and this would allow them to return to some sense of normalcy because the burden of the disease within the community is less, and as such you're going to have less complications, less hospitalizations, less death, and persons can get back to their lives.
Do you need to apply for emergency support inclusive of food and rental assistance? Follow up on applications or provide feedback from any service provided by the Family Development Department? Then call or WhatsApp 684-4692, 684-4255, 684-4699, or 683-8347 between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. daily.
The Division of Health, Wellness and Family Development presents to you Wellness Wednesdays, a series to help persons deal with the challenges of COVID-19. Join us live on our Facebook page, Tobago Channel 5 or Pulse 89.5 FM every Wednesday until July 7th from 8 a.m. to 8:30 a.m.
Thank you for staying with us. You're viewing Tobago Matters. We apologize for the short break there, but we had to stop so that you can hear the Senior Technical Coordinator give his explanation. We were talking to him about the landslips, particularly here in Tobago. What is his division? That is the Division of Infrastructure, Quarries and the Environment doing about this, and really just educating Tobagonians as to how to deal with landslips.
Thank you again, Glendora. And to piggyback on what my secretary had reiterated, there are things like guttering, simple things that I would want the Tobago populace to take very seriously. In every community, there are tradesmen that could install a guttering for a home, a typical home, in less than a day. A simple thing like that prevents the amount of water moving on your perimeter surfaces and causing erosion. And for all Tobagonians, most times our homes are our biggest investment. I want to see people make a better effort to protecting that and doing constructing the right way. We've also seen a little increase in slash and burn farming. That is also a big no-no. You're exposing the hillsides and the slopes unnecessarily, and then when the rains come down, and we are in the rainy season right now, we have sediment transport, which does two things. We're looking at flooding, and also you want to prevent that type of sediment from going to your water courses. With respect to the landslide phenomenon, we know that it's really liquefaction of soil, or in some cases it has to do also with the movement of water, water masses, the river banks bursting, stuff like that. And most times that occurs when we have either a tropical storm passing or hurricane nearby. The intensities would result in stuff like this taking place. With respect to the ways we treat with this, we usually engage in a suite of approaches in the division. After assessments, there are things that we could do from the soft approach, whether that means engaging in reforestation of banks to provide stability with the correct choice of plants with the type of roots that would hold up soil. There are times when we do terracing. And then when those things aren't recommended, we get into some of the more infrastructure intense approaches. Typically, you'll see cantilever retaining walls. Those are the retaining walls you see division build all the time. They have reinforcement in them. Structural concrete consisting of a stem, a toe and a heel. to retain the soil. In years past, and this is something that we've embarked on to remove some of these, you would have had the mass concrete walls, or the walls, you see the walls where there's a mix of concrete and armored rock stone. A lot of those now have done their lifetime, and we're in the process of removing those, putting them back in so that with cantilever walls and other technologies, so that we could stabilize the infrastructure, particularly on the main roads. One of the things that we've also done, we've looked into some of the other strategies used throughout the world. We've done a case of using concrete canvas. Yes, we've done one of that in Belgarden. We've also used mechanically stabilized earth retaining wall systems, particularly the massive landslide we had in King Peter's Bay. That was one successful project, and we used that methodology because of the depths we had to go in excess of 40 feet, which tends to not be the best. To use a cantilever retaining wall made out of concrete, economies of scale and cost, it would make sense you go with a MSE system. We chose to use, it was the Sierra Scape retaining wall system, which has a mesh front, allows for vegetative growth, very low carbon footprint, which I know the renewable energy side of things would apply. And we also used geogrids in between the soils that we stacked again to make sure that we had resilience. Just so you know, and also we would have consulted with people of Charleville for the Turpinbem project. We are going to use a version of the mechanically stabilized earth retaining wall system there as well. This one probably would have some concrete block facing and anchors going into the soil. But from the suite of things, those are the interventions that we usually do. But right now we are in preventative maintenance mode, using the Drainage Task Force, which is a unit we have to carry out the desilting, prepare the water courses for the untimely event that we may have a passage of a tropical storm. Right. So far, we've seen the systems perform well. I think I should also mention this. We have already engaged UDCOT to do an island-wide flood mitigation study so that we could identify any drains that may be undersized and also assess catchment areas and see how best we could implement new systems.
So let me ask you just before we move on a bit, natural water course is a major part of our landscape here in Tobago, and you have several people. I mean, your secretary alluded to one of those people who they go and they build there, they construct there. What do you have to say to those people? Tell us tonight, speak to those people. If they're thinking about going and interfering with a natural water course, river, canal, drain, you name it.
Well, I would say this, Glendora. To those that are already in that circumstance, it is even more critical that you practice the correct water control measures. And to those that are considering now, Town Country Planning has these laws in place to make sure that we develop the island in a certain way. I would always advise people not to circumvent the law, go through the process, because in that way you would also pick up information of what you shouldn't do and why. Because for instance, typically you would want to not build, have your building perimeter within 7.5 meters of a water course bank. And 7.5 meters, that is about 25 feet. And typically you would see people go and build right up against a river bank. A lot of times we try to intervene to provide assistance if they are already there. But the correct thing to do, I would advise my fellow Tobagonians, apply the science, follow what the advice of the authorities, because they are there for a reason. It's to save you nightmares in the future.
So you're saying that, but what I'm seeing is requests coming to your division for retaining walls. That's the big thing that everybody likes to ask for. And of course, what's the status with the retaining walls? What do you have to say to people who want a retaining wall?
Well, we have a selection process, and first and foremost, we always give priority to retaining structures on the that are required on the borders of public infrastructure. So a person that lives close to a roadway may see themselves getting a bit more lucky because we have to protect the actual public infrastructure. If what they have done could compromise the public infrastructure, then we would have to step in to make sure that the overall populace of Tobago is able to traverse our roadway in a particular way without encumbrances. To the other people who seek what I would consider maybe a private intervention, there are considerations we usually do. Sometimes we may tell them, look, you get the materials. If we can, we may provide the labor. But ideally, this is a public purse, so we have to steer this operation with a little bit of agility and wisdom. We really try our best not to leave anybody hanging, but we know that there are limited resources. So really is a plea I'm sending out here right now, because we get a request for retaining walls at least maybe 3 per day. When you multiply that by, say, 270 days, that should explain to you how many retaining walls we have on file from people from the private homes looking for stuff like this. Right. And clearly there's no way we could build all of that. So it really requires some education. We do offer sometimes some free symposiums that I would want people to take advantage of, because knowledge is power. Once as you know the do's and don'ts, it helps you to make sure. You may see a contractor doing something for you and you may be able to not directly tell him how to do it, but you may be able to pick up that, hey, something is wrong here. So I would say, though we do get the requests, I would ask the population to bear with us, because there's a selection process and there are priorities which we usually have to take into consideration.
All right, thank you very much for that. And I suppose we won't tell them go and cut bamboo and plant and keep the land up.
Well,
and that's another story. Maybe when we come back, you'll be able to deal with that. But I want to bring in Melanie in the discussion. Secretary Jacob said that he didn't really get too much feedback from the public. I want, if you have an update, let's talk about the energy outlook for Tobago, renewable energy. But I want us to go back to those TNTech bulbs when we're looking at the electricity outlook for the island. Can you speak to that?
When you say you want to go back to the electricity bulbs on the outlook, we're talking
well, I want to know really if you've gotten any update in your planning with respect to how that, let's say, how it unfolded so far.
Okay, so is it with risk? Because I know you asked him about policy. The policy will articulate on THA's commitment to promote renewable energy efficiency, and again, energy conservation. All right, so definitely looking at the LED bulbs, outfitting THA buildings with that. A good example will be for the Millshift complex that houses the agriculture as well as licensings. They are currently outfitted with LED. They updated that now to make them more energy efficient for a greater outlook of a greater energy outlook would be then to add in the motion sensor lights. But Glendora, let me speak a bit about renewable energy and the development of the people by building capacity. Because when we're transitioning, we definitely need to talk about the human resources on the island. Are they really equipped to go with this transition? All right. And the one of the things that I know the energy unit was really keen on was develop the YES interns. We had some Youth Energized for Success interns at the unit, and we were able to train them in conducting energy audits, as well as sizing their system, sizing a solar system for their entire home. They also left with certification. So there are courses online right now. You know, the COVID pandemic has created opportunities for persons to develop themselves in the sphere of renewable energy. So they have certificates right now from the State University of New York in sizing solar systems. Apart from that, we would definitely like to integrate renewable studies into the curriculum. So we're not just talking about LED lights and so on. We're talking more on, we have to build resilience, and in building resilience, you have to develop the people. So incorporating renewable energy technology into the schools is extremely critical, right? The late Dr. Eric Williams said that the future of our children is in our school bags. So if renewable energy is our future and where we're going, we definitely need to tackle the school's curriculum. And notably, the curriculum unit within the Division of Education, Innovation and Energy, as well as the energy unit, our team are collaborating with the Ministry of Energy as well as the Ministry of Education to definitely look at these solar systems that are installed for both disaster management and preparedness, as well as to run the critical loads of the school, to actually use that as a learning tool for students to get hands-on experience. All right.
So thank you very, very much for that. Time flies when you're
welcome.
having fun. We have to stop and take a break. I have so many more questions, and I know the public has questions as well. Let's stop and take a break. You're viewing Tobago Matters. Stay with us.
Are you experiencing overwhelming emotions such as depression, sadness, and anxiety? Need to talk to someone? Well, the Division of Health, Wellness, and Family Development is here to help. Access our telecounseling service today. Call or WhatsApp 683-8341 for 24/7 support that's professional and confidential.
Do you need to apply for emergency support inclusive of food and rental assistance, follow up on applications, or provide feedback from any service provided by the Family Development Department? Then call or WhatsApp 684-4692, 684-4255, 684-4699, or 683-8347 between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. daily.
Thank you for staying with us. You're viewing Tobago Matters. We are live on Tobago Channel 5. We're live on TTT. We're live on Facebook. You can check the Facebook pages for Tobago Channel 5 and the Office of the Chief Secretary, THA. And of course, we're live on the radio, Pulse 89.5 FM, Radio Tambourine 92.7 FM, and Street 919 FM. We're going to get ready to invite callers and contributions online. The numbers will come up. They are 635-1005 or 635-1412. On WhatsApp, you can send your WhatsApp questions to 688-4040. And of course, the Facebook pages are monitored, so you can field your questions, put your questions there as well. So while we ask you to get ready and pose your questions, let me just go to the Secretary for Urban Renewal. All right. But before we get to Urban Renewal, you have an upcoming initiative with housing. I want you to tell us about that very quickly, if you can.
Right, Glendora, we have the Rise Land project that we signed some contracts with NIPDEC. We have the IDB. They are part of the plan as well for the civil works. They will be doing the infrastructure works, the development of the roads, the lighting as well. We would want to go with solar lighting in that area as well with regards to our renewable energy. We want to do some sort of turning maybe in about 4 weeks or so. That project it's ready to start. We have approximately 54 units that will be placed in that area. That is in the Rise Land area. We also have in Adelphi where we want to do some land development as well. So there will be exciting time before the year end in Tobago. So I would admonish all those contractors, also skilled laborers and unskilled laborers. You have to start to prepare and embrace the opportunities that will be coming to you with regards to development and construction of homes in Tobago.
All right, and before we take a question from social media, you have been basically in a sort of controversial position in Tobago for a little time now. Urban renewal is a new thing to us, all right? I think it's the first time we've heard that this when you took up this portfolio.
Yeah.
So people saw bus sheds that some of us may have looked up and down at. We saw the Milford Court Plaza looking different, and we also got this big I Love Tobago sign in Scarborough. Talk to us about urban renewal, what that means under your division, and explain some of these projects.
Urban renewal is basically restoring old developments, for example, sites, maybe parks, etc., maybe old buildings as well. We have the Milford Court Plaza that was built in the era of HDC, many moons ago. And you have to modernize your area. You say in a plaza. So you want to be in a 21st century look. So I decided to do some aluco-bond material and give it an enhancement as well. Also in that area, we constructed the public convenience. I am from that area, Milford Court. I was born in Milford Court. So I know the issues that will be faced in Milford Court. So the public convenience in that area was significant as well. We also have a public convenience in Scarborough, which is critical for persons that travels maybe from the east and from the north and from the west. They have an area identified where they will be able to relieve themselves or refresh themselves entering into Scarborough. And if we should dovetail that into a tourism product, whilst tourists comes off the cruise ship, they should have an area identified maybe after they drink a Morbi or a source of punch or anything like that, and they want to go maybe to urinate or change their kid or whatever. You must have a place identified in the Scarborough area for those things. We have also, under my remit, was the Isle of Tobago sign. I traveled into many countries, and when you go to a country, you want to have something that will remind you of that country. So I initiated the Isle of Tobago sign. I also have the bus shelters as well. In Tobago, we have some dilapidated bus shelters, some bus shelters that needs upgrade. But if we are in the area of change, we want to enhance, we want to think tourism. I think that we should, change the appearance of our bus shelters. And we have the bus shelters giving a kind of Caribbean look with some photos depicting our culture and our traditions. Also, those bus shelters would be equipped with solar panels, solar lights, and also we'll have, in specific bus shelters, areas where you would have plugs in the event that you, whilst traversing the length and breadth of Tobago, you would be able, in case your phone is discharged, you would have an area where you could, a bus shelter where you could stop and recharge your phones through the renewable energy solar panels.
Thank you very much for that. I want us to go to the phone lines. We have a caller. Good evening, caller.
Hello, good night.
Caller, good evening.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, please pose your question.
Yes, I'm calling to say that I'm very pleased with what I'm seeing so far, and that I have to commend the THA for providing such a great expertise to these young people, because they have the expertise that the older administration before may not be familiar with, and we need to push Tobago into the future, because the future is now, especially as it concerns green energy. That's, I think, Mrs. Trim, I think her name is, with her portfolio. I was really happy to hear that we're taking this seriously and pushing it so that Tobago could really move toward the 21st century, and as well as save money and improve our energy resources in Tobago, because it's much needed. Right? So I'd like to commend the THA and all those young experts that presented tonight.
Thank you very much, caller. Thank you for your comment. So no real question there, just a comment of commendation. We want to go to a question from Facebook, and this person is posing this question to Secretary desVignes. When will Piggot Trace in Canby and Lowlands behind Gulf City Mall be paved?
All right, thank you for the question, Glendora. I suspect we'll be getting a lot of those questions. Um, it's ironic almost that we're complaining that the division is getting funding to do road paving, but we're getting questions about when would my road be paved. Uh, the reality is, in 2018, the division actually moved to a 4-year road resurfacing program. Trace actually and all fields are part of that program. As a matter of fact, Trace should have already been done. Mr. Chadband is there, I can tell you. We cannot just pave Trace. Trace is one of those places similar to what you spoke about, Glendora, where persons have encroached onto the roadway with their personal properties. We do have to do some land retention in some places, retaining structures that we are looking at getting done, which would drive up the cost of the overall project. But Trace in particular will be done. Mr. Chadban again did allude to the challenges that we have with another state agency, and that has led to a lot of inconvenience, particularly in that oil fields area, because some pipelaying was done and restoration was not completed. As a matter of fact, just yesterday, we had a conversation with senior members of that state agency. We're looking to really get to the bottom of this challenge and ensuring that Tobagonians don't have to deal with some of these vexations anymore. So the simple answer is as soon as we get the funding, both Trace and Allfields Lowlands are scheduled for resurfacing. But on a bigger picture, for all of the other questions that may come, there is a 4-year resurfacing program. Usually we do take recommendations from the staff in the first instance, of course, area representatives, because they would look at different things. And of course, that's generally observing from within the division where we have challenges. And we do get letters of request, as Mr. Chadman said, for not only for retaining structures, but also for road paving. So we take all of these things into consideration when we're moving forward.
Thank you very much. We have another caller on the line. Good evening, caller.
Good evening, Ms. Glendora.
Yes, good evening. We're hearing you. Go ahead.
Are you hearing me now?
We are hearing you. Go ahead.
Right. What I realized is that a few years ago, people were not adhering to the proper building codes. As a result, they are so close to the road that the roads cannot be widened. And even the guttering on the houses and that sort of thing, those things were sort of really ignored. And it is very terrible. I can tell you about this because I know of certain places where the buildings are so close to one another and that sort of stuff. That is not fair. What I would like to see happen, especially on the Windward Road, I know that they cannot acquire plenty of the land because those houses are more or less in the road, you have to say. But I would like to see a proper connection to Charlottesville from the last district, the last village or whatever that it is before, so that you can get into Charlottesville without any problem on that, you call it what, Turpin Bend Road or something like that. It's a pity. If they can make a bridge from Speyside to Charlottesville, even if they have to rent some of these contractors from abroad, that would be very nice, and that would really, really add to the tourism drive. Thank you.
Okay, caller, thank you very much. Secretary Louise, that's a tall order, you know. She said even if you have to rent a bridge.
I will let Mr. Chadman weigh in a bit. But before I get into that, I just want to say that one of the policies that we have adopted, as a matter of fact, is a Windward Road realignment project, and you would have seen the results of that in John Dial specifically, and that's why we have gone about the realignment project at Turpin Bend. The same thing is going to be done for the North Side Road, as another main conduit on the island, that we are looking at getting the survey plans done, and of course these have to be multi-year projects, but as long as we have the plans in place, which is one of the challenges. Sometimes we talk about things, they're great ideas, but we don't set solid plans in place. So we want to get solid plans in place for the Windward Road and the North Side Road. But I'll let Mr. Chadban weigh in and some of the other technical challenges.
Well, before I go to Mr. Chadband, I'm going to just try to stick in another caller. Mr. Chadband, keep your thoughts, and we'll bring it up a little later. Good evening, caller.
Hello?
Yes, good evening. Please go ahead.
Good evening.
We're hearing you, caller. Go ahead.
Right. This question is for Mr. Chadband and the Secretary for Works and Infrastructure. Secretary and Mr. Chadband, are you aware that the THA gets about just over $200 million for development program per year? Am I correct?
Well, I would have mentioned that earlier in the program.
Those projects that you all, Mr. Chadband, would have mentioned, for example, in the East, would have himself over a 4-year period, say multiply that by 4. That if all the development money allocated to the THE, that those money over a 4-year period will not be able to carry out those development projects. Far less development in the housing project that Mr. Clarence Jacob is saying, and plus you have other divisions. Are you selling the people of Tobago dreams? Where would the Tobago House of Assembly under the current funding situation from central government get those funding to do these projects, especially infrastructure? Because if you just take into consideration the Claude Noel Highway that was paved cost $42 million, and right now the whole Claude Noel Highway need paving. Plus those infrastructure things that Mr. Chadband saying, that they have this road slipperies at Patient Hill. Are you aware of that? So are you selling the people of Tobago dreams under the current funding for the Tobago House of Assembly?
All right, caller. Thank you very much. So essentially, and Secretary, I'm going to put that more to you than Mr. Chadband, because he follows the direction of the policy. Are you selling the Tobagoans' dreams? That's essentially what the caller is asking. He says you have no money to do it.
So quite quickly, and I think sometimes we get carried away with our own passions, and I appreciate what the caller is saying. I was very clear and open early in my contribution about the 200 million that we got for development funding, and the fact that we budgeted or we estimated 42 million for the highway, and it cost about close to 40 million. The reality is, Glendora, as I indicated, we have to prioritize. And I think, and part of that is we have to move funding from the recurrent program, as I indicated earlier, to the development program to fund a lot of the projects. Because we're not only talking under the Division of Infrastructure. Secretary Jacob, all of the projects he has spoken about have to be funded as well. We're looking at the agricultural access roads, even some of the micro malls, the entrepreneurship centers and so on have to be funded. So the reality is the Assembly is looking, and I spoke about it, alternative financing for many of the projects. For example, the Little Tobago Jetty, the Pigeon Point, coastal work. That's why you're trying to get CAF funding in. But primarily what we have to do, and that is the reality, is just like in any home, you have things to do, you have to prioritize your spend. And we have been doing an excellent job at that. We've been able to execute so many projects you can list. The Roxborough Hospital has been built.
So thank you for that, Secretary DeVignes. Thank you for that. I want to take another caller now. Good evening, caller. Caller, good evening.
Hello.
Caller, good evening to
Yes.
you.
Hello.
Yes, we're hearing you. Please go ahead.
Yes. Hello. Can I ask the question?
Yes, please go ahead.
Right. The question that I would like to ask about with the solar panels. Is there a limit to the amount that you would? Is there a limit to the amount of solar panels that you could put on your structure, or?
Okay, I think I get what you're asking. Thank you very much. I'm not sure if the manager for energy resources, she has that information, but the caller is asking whether or not, based on the structure that you have, if there's a limit in the number of solar panels that you can put on.
So the panels or the number of panels are factored based on one, the energy consumption. So of course, you're not going to put 1,000 panels on the roof if you only need 2, right? So it's always based on your energy consumption. So that's 1. 2, let's say, for example, you need 20 panels and you have to put it on your home. If you don't have enough roofing area, that may be a challenge. So you can consider ground mounted installations as opposed to roofing. Now, if that's, of course, if you have space in your yard to accommodate that. So say, for example, you do have space on your roof to accommodate the solar panels. You also have to determine or ascertain the structural integrity of your building. That is very critical because the weight of the panel will, you have to consider the weight of the panel, the strength of your structure and everything. So if there's is there a limit? It is based on many factors and primarily energy consumption. If you don't have enough roof space, then of course you can do a mountain structure and it will work just fine.
So very, very quickly, Manager of Energy Resources, who determines, who checks this? The caller, and for anybody out there, if they want to know who's responsible for telling you how much you need?
Okay, so this design will tell you that. So for example, if I go and do an energy audit of your home, I will be able to know your energy consumption. I will make recommendations to becoming more efficient. After doing that, I will design your system based on your load detail. Everything is hinged on your load, your energy management, right? So I will determine, okay, the number of panels that you will need. But based on your structural integrity, a civil engineer would likely have to do that. And then there's also the electrical aspect of it as well. So I will definitely be able to size the solar system, the number of panels that you would need, and that is hinged on your load detail.
Okay, thank you very much. So let's take another caller. Good evening, caller. Caller, good evening to you.
Hello?
Yes, we're hearing you. Go ahead now, please.
You're sounding soft and very far away. I don't understand you now.
Are you hearing me any better now?
Huh?
Are you hearing me better now?
I hear you very faint. I don't know why.
Okay, just pose your question, caller. We are hearing you loud and clear. That's more important. Go ahead.
Hello?
Pose your question, caller, please.
Okay, wait a second.
All right, it seems as if this caller, yeah, we lost that caller. That caller was having some trouble getting to us. Before we go to social media, Senior Technical Coordinator, please just go back quickly to that bridge from Speyside, the possibility of the bridge from Speyside to Charlottesville, and answer the lady's question.
Right. Thank you, caller. It was a good question. And in our deliberations for solutions to make sure that traverse is a lot, more comfortable for people. And I guess it ties in also to Ethiopian Ben. You did mention that, caller, so I know that you did the research. We did consider a cable bridge, but the magnitude of what that would cost to bring that, particularly from Speyside to Charlottesville, it would require probably international funding. That's $1 billion exercise. What we did instead was do some value engineering on some options, whether we could do some land acquisitions or whether we could realign the Turpin bed. And option 2 of all the considerations we had, and this is using Trinto Plan, UDCOT, we really looked for resources that are competent in dealing with these type of road projects. And what we decided was that we'll go with option 2. And for everybody listening, the tender for that has actually closed, which is really a realignment of the roadway to make it easier and safer for people to traverse. You can have the amenities, proper lighting, infrastructure to prevent you from even going over. The ergonomics of the turns would be different so that larger vehicles could pass, stuff like that. And we expect to get a report from UDCOT on the way forward with our contractor maybe in the next 2 weeks.
So I have a little bit of a follow-up for you on that.
Sure.
You said that the cost of the bridge itself, the hanging bridge, was basically very, very expensive, close to $1 billion. Did that factor in maintenance, or is there an additional cost towards maintaining that kind of structure?
Well, for all things, once as you put down something like that, particularly you may be close to a coastal environment where you would have to pass it as well. The maintenance cost would be extraordinarily high. Again, that depends on whether you choose particular materials up front. You could do that, but to recoup that and to be able to justify that, you may have to introduce things like tolls on a bridge of that magnitude for Tobago.
Gotcha. Thank you very much for that. Let's go to WhatsApp. We have a question on WhatsApp, and this person is asking, any possible timeline for the implementation of these major energy-saving mechanisms, namely the motion sensors in school and state buildings, etc.? And we will go to the manager of energy resources, Melanie.
Hi, yes, Glendora. I am an actionable person, right? Generally speaking. Now, I would not be able to make any comment as to the timeline. However, I do know the cost-benefit analysis will continue to be done. What I would like to do is maybe refer that question to members of the Executive Council who may be able to give a guideline on as to the timelines.
Okay, thank you very much. And that's fair enough. That's a political decision. Let's go to the phone lines. Good evening, caller. Caller, are you there? Good evening. Good evening, caller. All right, we're not hearing the caller in studio. Let's try again. Good evening, caller. All right. So maybe I can ask one of the two, well, I'm going to ask both of you all. You can wink at each other and decide who's going to answer. Those kinds of questions like, okay, getting the energy, the timelines for that kind of thing. Has that been discussed just yet? Is anybody in a position to answer that just yet?
Yeah, from the level of the Division of Settlements, we have that discussion. We want to install those in our new developments, those solar lights, and we want to include the motion sensors and tap sensors as well, and water tap sensors. So it is at the discussion with the technical staff. So going forward, it will be something that we will be seeing. As well, we have it in the Shervan housing development, Shervan and the Cove development. We have the solar panels, and those are very efficient. They are, the lumbrance is excellent, and I think that is a way forward for us going forward in the housing development.
Thank you very much for that. I know you're already scrunting for money, but I'm going to ask maybe you all can put out some videos so that the public can see these things. Let's go to the phone. Good evening, caller. Caller, good evening. Are you there? Okay, we're not hearing. We're not hearing. So let's go to WhatsApp while we try to get the caller, or Facebook. Somebody is saying there are also numerous trees and light poles that are posing a threat to pedestrians and overhead lines, especially now that we are in the hurricane season. What is the division's plan to treat with this issue? And maybe we can go to the senior technical coordinator on this one.
Right, thank you, Glendora. There are two sides of this. On our social media page, you'd have actually seen, if you, I advise everybody to keep close eye on our social media page. It's updated daily. You would see videos of tree cutting exercises taking place. However, I would like to caution that not all the tree cutting exercises or the trees that need to cut are under our purview. Anything that interferes with power distribution lines, we usually would have to involve T&Tech. Obviously, for obvious reasons, there are certain technical skills required to cut trees and branches that will impact on that. But we consistently do it. Anytime you see that there's a lapse, there's a shortage of bucket trucks on the island, but once our bucket truck is back up, the tree cutting team is out doing what they need to do. So I thank the caller for the question. Just want to alleviate their fears that, you know, we are on it and we're doing what we're supposed to do. If you are aware of trees that are interfering with lines, it would also make sense to bring it to our attention or bring it to the attention of T&Tech, and we would seek to have it treated with.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much for that. I want to just ask the Secretary for Infrastructure very quickly. Okay, so we have a caller on the line. Let's go to the caller first. Good evening,
Hello?
caller. Caller, good evening.
Yeah, good evening. I just want to go back to the previous question about the solar panels. I don't think my question was answered. I am asking if there's a limit. Let's say you already have all the infrastructure and you could build a building, you have the money to build a building as large as you want. Is there by law a limit of the amount of panels you could have?
Well, what she said, caller, is that the limit basically is based on what is required, the amount of things to be powered or the power
So you're saying
required
there's
for
no
the structure.
limitation if you get approval for a particular structure and you design it in a way where you could have 1,000 panels on it. There's no limitation, you think?
No, I think there are limitations. We have to have a discussion with TNTech as well with regards to, installing all those solar panels.
Right.
I think there's a base, but there should be some form of in-depth conversation with TNTech before proceeding.
All right. And also, caller, the manager energy resources, as she indicated earlier, they are in working on a renewable energy policy. So those things will, in fact, come up in that. Thank you. Melanie, do you have any other thing to add?
Yeah. No. Okay, I'll elaborate on what Secretary Jacob said, right? In terms of the limit to the number of panels, I don't think there's a limit. However, there is a solar license that you will have to apply for through the Ministry of Public Utilities. So what you will have to do is send a letter to the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Public Utilities indicating the size of your system, indicating the location, the load you would like to power, and they will issue you a license. But prior to issuing you that license, you will have to pay a fee. And that fee, I believe, may be in accordance to that 1,000 panels you are interested in putting in. I guess you would be charged accordingly for that. But what is the benefit of the solar panel, the solar license, is to develop a database. So that's very important for us to know who is utilizing or who's harnessing energy from the sun and solar. So in terms of limitation to the number of panels, again, it really is hinged on your load, but you have to definitely apply for a solar license if you're asking about the limitations with respect to the legal ramifications.
Okay. Thank you very much. We go to the phone lines. Good evening, caller. Caller, good evening. Caller, are you there? Good evening. All right, so we're not hearing that caller. We go to WhatsApp. This person is saying, why are there no lights on the Ardersville to Lecato Road? Public Utilities, Secretary Jacob, let's go to you.
I'm happy to know that persons are observant. We have a progress of lighting to be done. We started the day before yesterday in Friendship. We went to Pickett Street, and we have some more applicants to deal with. So I think Ardersville, we have Ardersville on the list. We have, I think it's Cow Farm Road on the list. We have a few in Signal Hill. We have a few in Mason Hall, Moriah. So it's ongoing. As we in the division get our funding, we are able to pay for the lighting. So Ardersville, I would make sure that in that area have some form of assistance.
Okay, thank you very much. So we're going to go to the phone lines. Good evening, caller.
Hi, good night.
Good evening to you. Please go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, caller, go ahead. We're hearing you.
Right, so we're talking about the Ardersville Road with the street light. That's a big concern because there's no street lights in the back there. And there's a lot of development that's taking place. I think the TJ should look into, because all the developers and them doing is come in, cut up the land, and all the water and everything is coming back on the main road and back over on the other side. And then everything would fall back to TJ to fix, because when people purchase land and then they can't access because it have water issues and all these things. And those are the concerns that I have.
Okay, caller, thank you. Thank you very much for that. I will see if the Infrastructure Secretary would like to weigh in there.
The caller is very right. And just to add to what, or support what Secretary Jacob said before, the Tobago House of Assembly actually has to pay for the installation and maintenance of all streetlights. So Secretary Jacob has that headache when he speaks about getting the funding to install the streetlights. So it's a major challenge. With developers, land developers, I think more and more we are seeing land developers moving away from what I may call scrupulous activities, because a land developer is actually supposed to, one, apply, depending on the size of the land, apply for a certificate of environmental clearance with the EMA. They're also supposed to apply to the Division of Infrastructure, and this is done through Town and Country Planning, where they supply their drainage plans, and Mr. Chadband can weigh in on it, and where they plan to, how they plan to deal with their drainage and the additional runoff that would be generated from the particular development. And very often they may submit these plans, but they don't stick to these plans. The other thing, and I want potential land buyers to be wary. Land developer is not just supposed to sell you a piece of land. They're supposed to provide you with all amenities, the road work, drainage work, access to utilities, before for that to be considered as developed land. As a matter of fact, in an ideal scenario, these roads, or when a private landowner develops a road, what should really happen is that the road is brought up to a particular standard, following by which all land taxes should be paid, and then a written application is made to the division for the division to take possession of the road, so to speak, where we then start maintaining the road and so on, and it's then considered to be a public road. Of course, land taxes have been on pause for quite some time, but that does not take away from the responsibility of landowners to do the right thing. And more and more we are seeing them deviating from that.
Thank you very much for that, Secretary desVignes. You may need to buy an entire show so that we can talk about that. Let's go to the phone lines again. Good evening, caller.
Keep on the light.
Caller, good evening.
Hello.
Hi, good evening to you. Caller, you can go ahead. We're hearing you.
Yes. This question is from Ms. Kwesi. At one time you said it's Studley Park Quarry had sold, and then you are hearing that you all made a lot of money with it. Could you verify that? And the other question is from Mr. Jacobs. Could senior citizens apply for the homes, and what is the criteria for the senior citizens? Happy emancipation.
All right, thank you very much, caller. So 2 questions. First, Secretary desVignes, Studley Park Quarry, you all sold it, and then you're saying that you all made money. Clarify that for the caller, please.
All right, so to be extremely clear, Studley Park Enterprise Limited, which is the company that currently operates the Studley Park Quarry, is a 100% owned THA company. So it means that there are no other stakeholders but the Tobago House of Assembly. Studley Park Enterprise Limited began operations in November of 2017 at the quarry. They've been able to ramp up production by over 400%. The challenges of COVID-19 have seen a significant decrease in the earnings of the quarry in 2020, and of course 2021 with the shutdown basically of the construction sector and the slowdown in many cases. But of course, with the Barbados Bay Jetty, we are looking towards exports to Trinidad, Guyana, St. Vincent, and so on. So it's not sold, it's all THA. The people of Tobago currently own Studley Park Enterprise Limited.
Thank you very much. And to your colleague, Secretary Jacobs, can senior citizens apply for those homes?
Once you're a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago and over the age of 18 years, you are entitled to apply for houses or lands in Tobago. The difficulty sometimes is where they have to go to their financial institution. Based on your age, then the situation will change. If you have your money cash, you just pay for your land.
Okay, so thank you very much for that. Let's go to social media. We have a question here. Will the division consider undertaking the refurbishment of the Bailey Bridge at Spring Garden that leads to the Scarborough General Hospital if a key access route in case of an emergency in the event of the highway being inaccessible? All right, so that's a great question, Secretary desVignes.
This question actually saddens me a little bit, and I'll tell you why. Mr. Nolan Crosby, the late Nolan Crosby, has been a major advocate for this particular project. It's not Bailey Bridges, it's 2 single-lane bridges in Spring Garden, the Spring Garden area. And yes, we would like to do that. Of course, we had prioritized the Milford Road Bridges program. We cannot do it all at the same time, and we don't want to sell any dreams to anyone. The next bridge that we do have lined up basically to do is the Signal Hill River Bridge, which is that bridge closest to the Lambo facility, fishing facility there. So that will be the next bridge that we see us working on in terms of rehabilitating. But yes, we would like to get those 2 single-lane bridges widened and, of course, put to a place where we are very comfortable with that particular access route.
All right, thank you very much. We go to WhatsApp now. Please say when Providence Road will get lights. Secretary Jacob.
Well, as I say, it's an ongoing process, and based on the number of applications that we have in the division, dovetail with the budget that we have at hand, we would try to do as much as we could, but due to financial constraints, we cannot do all at the same time. Right. So I will look into the Providence area as well to see what's on the list, and if I cannot do all, maybe we could do a few in Providence. But what we are trying to do in the division is to try to spread the operation throughout Tobago, because we know we can't do just one area. We had Pigott Street yesterday. They were clamoring for years. You have Grow Patch, who they are clamoring for years. Since I came into the assembly, I was saying about Google Patch and they want lights, etc. So it's after 4 years. I want to say thanks for the patience, and to all Tobagonians who are in a situation where they need lights, you could always tap into the division. The process, you tap into the division, you maybe have to write to your assemblyman or your representative in that area. Then you'll have to go to TNTech, get an estimate, and then apply to the Division of Implements. After which we would have it on a list for payment.
All right. Sorry. Excuse me. We have to go to caller now. Good evening, caller.
After 4 years, I want to say thanks to the patients and to all the beginners who are in affiliation with the inside. It's a very complicated decision. It's a very complicated decision. You have to write to your assemblyman in that area. Then you have to do the TNTech and get an estimate and then apply to the division.
Caller?
Hello, good night.
Sorry, good evening. Can you please repeat?
Hello?
Yes, good evening, caller.
Good evening.
Please go ahead, caller. Please go ahead.
Yes, good night, Miss Glendora, and good night to the other guys and the assemblymen. I'm just calling to congratulate Mr. desVignes on the Studley Park Quarry, from being it from unproductive to productive. I went there a couple of weeks ago to get some stuff, and I was very impressed. Hello?
We're hearing you, caller. Go ahead.
I was very impressed with the level of performance at the quarry, and I got my stuff within a very quick time. So I'm very happy that that quarry is now productive, and we Tobagonians can look forward to getting good quality stuff from the quarry. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for that, caller. So more a comment than a question. We go to WhatsApp. This person says, any update on Sanctuary Resort and Manta Lodge plans? So where does this fall?
it doesn't fall with anyone here, but I can say that at the Executive Council level, and of course Secretary Jacob could echo or back me up on this. Mantle Lodge, we have engaged UDCUT, that's the Division of Tourism at least, engaged UDCUT to transform Mantle Lodge to a 3-star or higher resort. And I know that work has already begun. The Division of Infrastructure did lend some support in the early days to that. I mean, that is the only update I could give as of now. As to the progress of the project, I can't say specifically, but I'm sure that information could be made public quite easily.
Thank you very much. So we go back to the phone lines. Good evening, caller. Caller, good evening. We're not hearing the caller in studio. Good evening, caller. Can you hear us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yes. So I'd like to make a comment briefly on two things, water and solar. Are you hearing me clearly?
Yes, we are. Go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. So one of the things with solar is that you have two types of system. One is an off-grid system and one is a grid-tied system. I'm really hoping that, oh, by the way, sorry, good night to the panel, ladies and gentlemen.
Good night.
So I'm really hoping that in looking in solar, that they allow the grid-tied system where persons can get a rebate for excess energy produced. Secondly, in solar, I think it's time that we start allowing or having developers be responsible for putting in solar streetlights in these developments. It would be a one-time cost for them and a zero cost to the government.
Thank you very much, caller. We have one last call before we wrap up. Good evening, caller. Caller, good evening. Okay, well, we're not hearing. I think we lost that call. So we go to Secretary Jacob, your closing remarks very quickly.
Well, I must say it's really a pleasure serving the people of Tobago for 4 years. And I am there to make sure I improve the living condition and the housing stock in Tobago, as well as we have some urban initiatives that I would embark in the few weeks ahead. And with public utilities and WASA, you know, we would serve you to the best of our ability.
Thank you very much. And we go to Secretary desVignes. Closing remarks very quickly. We have to go quickly.
All right, thank you very much. Again, thank you for the opportunity to serve the people of Tobago. A special good evening to the employees of the Unemployment Relief Program that continues to do such great things. Of course, the division as a whole is 6,000 employees who continue to serve the people of Tobago. Thank you for the opportunity yet again.
All right, thank you very much. Senior Technical Coordinator, closing remarks very quickly.
I just want to make sure the people of Tobago know that you are in good hands. We're doing the best we can. I would like to shout out members of my senior team, meet some of the other engineers. We get good support from you guys. The public, we thank you for your patience in trying times, and we also thank you for the information that you relay to us. Rest assured, we won't be selling dreams. We do a particular level of planning that allows for some predictability in the delivery of our projects. And we look forward to continue doing so going forward.
Thank you. And the lone female, your closing remarks. Keep it short, please.
Yes. The energy outlook for Tobago is renewable and an efficient one, right? Where the national grid will become diversified with renewable energy technologies. Our communities will become climate resilient, and where energy conservation and energy efficiency become second nature. And at the end of the day, we want to go with the Vision 2030 statement of placing the environment at the center of economic and social development.
All right, thank you very much. I am Glendora Lashley, closing out for this episode of Tobago Matters. We dealt with infrastructure and renewable energy. Hopefully, as Tobagonians and Trinidadians, you got some valuable information here. You know the questions to ask if you see some of these people, or if you want to reach out to the respective divisions, please do so. I'm inviting you to look out for the 4th episode of Tobago Matters. We will be live on Tobago Channel 5, TTT, radio, and social media. Have a good evening.